Hey everybody, Matumbo here. Welcome back to the channel. We are playing some more historic here on Magic Arena, and today we have a super fun one for you. I actually was playing last night and ran into this deck, and this deck just blew me out of the water 2 games in a row, and I just did not expect it, and so it looked like a lot of fun. So we threw together a list, and I'm pretty happy to bring this one to you. But before we get into the deck, I do want to remind everybody that we are growing super fast. We have hit 800 subscribers as of last night, which is super exciting. And I'd really like to get to 1,000 as quickly as possible. We're going to do a pretty sweet giveaway once we get to 1,000. So if you have not subscribed already, please do so. Please like the video. Please leave a comment down below letting me know what you think about this deck, any of our other decks, and also hit that bell icon to be notified when these videos go live. So, all right, with that being said, let's get into this deck. This deck is called Herald's Call. So what we're trying to do is we are trying to essentially put a bunch of enchantments that pump our creature into the graveyard, and then we are trying to sneak them all back into play at once with Storm Herald. Now, Storm Herald, what he said, he has haste. He's a 3/2 for 3. And when he enters the battlefield, return any number of aura cards from the graveyard to the battlefield attached to creatures you control. So we get to choose how they're divvied up. We can put them all on him, which is typically what we do. Or if we need to, we can put them on a different creature or a combination of creatures. But typically you just throw them all on one guy because you just want one giant trampler to get in. And that's really it. So the only other part of him is that if those auras would leave the battlefield this turn, they get exiled. So basically, you swing through. If you don't have a trample, they're just going to block, and then the enchantments are just going to go turns. That's unfortunate. But what's cool, and why we're calling it Herald's Call, obviously this is Storm Herald, and we have Call of the Death Dweller. So this card is essentially letting us play 8 copies of Storm Herald, because this says for 3 mana, return up to 2 target creature cards with total converted mana cost of 3 or less from your graveyard. We get to put a Death Touch counter on either of them, and then a Menace counter. So we're just going to pay 3 mana typically, bring back a Storm Herald. We're going to have a hasting, death touching, menacing Storm Herald. And it's going to be pretty large because of some of these enchantments we have in play. One of them being Prodigious Growth, which is a 6 mana, +7/+7, and trample. So now I do want to let everybody know. So we played a version of this deck a long time ago in Standard. But the standard version plays Colossification because that's what's legal. It's +20/+20, but it does tap the creature when it comes into play. So if you play Storm Herald, get a Colossification, it's going to actually tap it. But what a lot of people are doing right now is just flinging. So we're not trying to utilize fling. We're just trying to get in with a big attack. Have to have any extra mana, so we just want to do it as quickly as possible. Another cool card. Ancestral Mask. This was from one of the earlier anthologies sets, and it's going to give a creature +2/+2 for each other enchantment on the battlefield. So all of the enchantments that you have in play are going to pump this. So if we have a couple of these in play and 1 or 2 of these, our creatures are just going to get well above 20 power, and we're just going to get. We also have Setessan Training, 2 mana. This is also just like a cycling card because when it comes into play, draw a card, but it's going to give a creature +1/+0 and trample. Obviously, trample is key here. That's why we're playing both of these. We need creatures to have. So how do we get our enchantments into the graveyard? Well, we have, first off, we have Tymaret Calls of the Dead. For the first 2 chapters of this saga, we're going to put the top 3 cards of our library into our graveyard, and then we can exile a creature or an enchantment card to make a 2/2 zombie. Typically, obviously, you don't want to exile any of your enchantments in your graveyard, so you're going to be trying to exile any of the other creatures that you're milling. Not the Storm Herald, but typically the other creatures. The 3rd chapter, we get to gain life and scry. We don't really care about this mode. We really just care about the 1st and 2nd. All right, we also have Cathartic Reunion as a draw spell. So 2 mana, discard 2 cards, and draw 3 cards. So typically what you are wanting to do with Cathartic Reunion is you are wanting to pitch cards like Prodigious Growth and Ancestral Mask, and because these cards are just pretty much dead in your hand, and then because we're going to be returning them once we hit our Storm Herald, we're going to be pitching enchantments, drawing cards, and then just kind of getting there. And We have Mire Triton, 2 mana, 2/1 Death Touch. When it comes into play, put the top 2 cards of your library into the graveyard, and you gain 2 life. So you gain a little bit of life. It's good against aggro decks. And then also, it is milling yourself for 2, and hopefully putting some of these big enchantments in, as well as Stitcher Supplier. 1 mana, 1/1. When it comes into play or dies, we're gonna be milling ourselves for 3. So this is potentially 3 cards that we're milling each time. So 6 cards total, which is really good for 1 mana, and hopefully, again, we're hitting as many enchantments as possible, or Storm Heralds. That way we can just call the Death Dweller back into play. And last but not least, Fanatical Firebrand. This is just really good 1-drop. Also, you know, this kills Land of War Elves. That is a really heavily played card in this format. It also can kill Stitcher Supplier if you're needing to kill it. So you could potentially have both of these in play, sack Fanatical Firebrand, kill your Stitcher Supplier, get those 3 extra cards. Mainly all of these guys are chump blockers, and just to help feed your graveyard. But other than that, you know, this deck is, like I said, it's really quick. When I played against it last night, it got me twice really, really fast. I think like turn 4 both. So that's what we're hoping to do. Want to remind everybody, please stay tuned until the end of the video. What we're going to do, we always talk about what we liked about the deck, what we didn't like about the deck, any changes we make. All right, please stay tuned until the wrap up. We will hop into the gameplay now, and we will see you guys soon. All right, so we are going to try to Storm Herald. We played a deck like this in Standard, but it uses Colossification, which is a lot harder to deal with because it taps the creature. But we're not going to focus on Colossification this go around, as I feel like is just a better card in Prodigious Growth. So it's only +7 instead of the +20 that Colossification offers, but it'll let us get in there and happy tap tap. So we're going to go ahead and keep this. This is not the best hand, but good news is we will trade, and then we will play this, gain some life. 100% trading here. More enchantments we get into the graveyard sooner than later. Go ahead and gain some life. We'll force him to have a removal spell. Sure thing. All right, so you do have to remember how fast mono red, the potential for mono red can be. All right, so we are going to Cathartic Reunion. Interesting, so chalk down to 12. I don't think he has another land in his hand, which is really good. So I don't think he's gonna have could have Wizard's Lightning. So I do want to make him actually start blocking or killing our blockers and then just get him in one turn. All right, so he has to kill us here, so right, we'll go ahead and make a let's hit for 29. Oh man, that's exactly what we want to be doing. Man, that feels really good. Whew. Always feels good when you beat mono red. Mono red is just a deck that most people hate to play against because it's pretty, you know, it's just, I feel like it's a mindless deck to play. In the higher ranks, I do feel like there are more skill involved, because in the earlier ranks, you're just either going to win fast or lose pretty quick. So, but with that being said, going into game 2, I want to remind everybody to hydrate, drink that water. While we play against Potato Master. And what do we have here? Potentially a pretty decent hand. We can draw land. I think we're going to keep. I don't like always shocking. He's going to think we're on some kind of like weird gruel plan. Oh, that is unfortunate. So this is going to be a tempered steel deck. I mean, it has to be a tempered, right? I would imagine so. Okay. You did it. All right, well. Probably should have attacked there. Okay. Yep, so we will definitely block and alright, so we do have a Storm Herald, that is good. You kind of need to try racing him. It's gonna be hard. Might as well get in the 1 damage now. Curious Obsession. Yeah, that's good. I think we're gonna take it anyway, so I'm really glad that he didn't attack with the 3/3. He's leaving that back as a blocker. Wouldn't mind him tapping out here to play something. A 5/5. We're gonna scry. Feel like we more enchantments the better, so we actually have to do some math here. So 1, 2, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 17. Put it on there. It'll have menace, half the block. Oh man. I just don't know if we can go for it. I think we have to. I mean, I think it's kind of like an all or nothing type deal. We definitely counted wrong. So yeah, so that is lethal. And that's just us mathing incorrectly. So. And we should have cast Call the Death Dweller to give it menace. So that one's on us, but we still got there, so. Definitely should have cast the Death Dweller there to give it menace. I was just like, just so in the zone about having to get the Storm Herald into play that I basically misclicked. That could have cost us the game if we hadn't tapped it right. So we're going first. We don't have a 1-drop, which sucks. Mana's not really the best. I think we can keep this. We do need to draw like a shock here. A shock here would be really good. That's not a shock land. Hey, look, 3 cards that we want. I will block. I will block, Mr. Gutterbones. So, Tymaret is pretty unfortunate. I wonder if he gets in. I think, yeah, I think you get it, right? So what kind of... Oh, so this is actually in play, not just that we control. That's a mistake on All right. That's why it's helpful to read cards. So I think if he comes after it, we will sack it to... We're going to fizzle it. We would have loved to hit, like, actually something good there. Would have been nice, but we did get to fizzle his spell. It's pretty crazy that we haven't hit anything. I feel like we need to get him to spend his mana on this Knight of the Ebon Legion. What is he gonna do? I don't know if he realizes how good Tymaret is against our deck. So that exiles a card. Fortunate. If we block this, this might prioritize him to actually get it back and then replay it. And then, depending on what we hit with this Call of the Dead, we might be in good shape. But again, it will be, of course we draw it. Oh, there's another one. Okay. Get rid of Stitcher Supplier. And I think this is the turn we just have to do it. Get in for 35. Oh my god, what is this deck right now? Oh, buddy. Use your Tymaret next time. Wow. Wow, wow. Oh, 35. That's just so much damage. And a lot of that damage was because he had enchantments on himself. What, he had out 2 enchantments himself? So. Sad villain. Interesting. So this is not. We have no plays at all. No way to get cards into the graveyard. We're going to mulligan. This is better. We are going to get rid of... I think we have to get rid of what? I mean, Cathartic Reunion essentially gets us hopefully a land. Oh, okay. Actually is going to net us some cards there. So if we discard again, we're discarding Ancestral Mask. So are we super greedy? Like, so we're keeping the Overgrown Tomb, obviously, in case he makes a discard 2 cards. Oh man, that sucks. That sucks. I mean, it is what it is, right? Alright, well, we actually don't need anything other than the card that we just drew. So. Alright, well. Well, good game. So it just is what it is, this deck. This deck is a lot of fun, and it's pretty simple and straightforward, and you just can win sometimes out of nowhere. I don't remember if I mentioned this earlier or not, But one of my buddies, Shane, he's been keeping track of my games for the last week or two for my videos, and he says I'm something like 50-1 in my videos. I know we've been doing pretty well. I didn't realize we were doing that well, and I know a lot of it has to do with the fact that we are playing typically non-meta decks. We are switching our decks a lot. People are not knowing what to expect versus our decks. We can't keep this hand. We have a turn 1 play, but then we just don't have anything after that. We could try to make a giant Fanatical Firebrand, but it's not what our deck's trying to do. Guess we're keeping that. Guess we're getting rid of the Blood Crypt. Look at you. Yeah, just kill it. Just kill it. So that Firebrand essentially did 3 damage to everything, or 3 damage to us, I mean. So let's get some chump blocking action going. We don't want you to have a cheap light of the stage. Do it anyway, right? It's pretty good. It is kind of annoying that they hit there. Yep. Oh, you have another shock. Wow, good for you, buddy. We potentially have lethal next turn, depending on what we draw. Or what gets milled, I mean. Not bad. It's pretty good. Well, submit 0. No attacks. We have to get pretty lucky here. This is definitely one of those games where luck is going to be a factor. Now, depending on... Okay. It's a good hit. Gain a little bit of life back. That was unfair. Unfortunately, the Chain Whirler has first strike, but we'll have a chump blocker. I mean, do you have 2 removal spells? Because if not, minus 47. Oh man, that feels good. Yeah, his mistake obviously was not having 2 removal spells and probably just thinking that enchantments had to go on the Storm Herald. And it was probably beneficial that the first time we played Storm Herald, chose not to put anything onto the token. Maybe he thought we couldn't at that point. Gorman. Alright, so we're going first. Going around into Cemetery, into Triton. I guess we have to keep this, right? Sleeves are these. Those are cool sleeves. I like these sleeves. We need to start using sleeves. Just keep using these magic packs. Alright, so what is our opponent playing? Blue-white. Unfortunate hit. Okay, so he's playing Esper. They're always playing Esper. Would have loved for you to take an Ancestral Mask. That'd have been kind of fun. This doesn't do anything for us. This will get us somewhere, hopefully. Remove you. Start getting in for a little bit of damage. Maybe he has a Teferi here. No? Okay. What does he bounce? Okay. Alright, so I think what we're going to do is... I mean, he'll probably Wrath, but we're going to prioritize getting in a little bit of damage. Draws us a card. Pretty good. Do we have enough to win? He's at 10, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's Xaxes. Oh. And one more. Good game, Gorman. Good game. Yeah, and this is one of those decks that has really fast games, and I mean, you're either going to win some really quickly, you're going to lose some really quickly. I don't really feel like this is one of those decks that just like stalls out for super long. I think your longest game will probably be like a 6 or 7 minute game at the most, and that's kind of if your opponent is just like really in the tank. All right, so what are we doing with this? So we could, I think we're going to keep this because we have 2 reunions. We can discard Ancestral Mask and Storm Herald because we have the Call of the Death Dweller in our... a pretty decent draw. But I think, honestly, we're just going to be on the Cathartic Reunion playing this game. This looks like it's going to be like a Field of the Dead type deck. Okay. So I think next turn we can actually play Tymaret. Tymaret here is pretty good. I mean, he can start... I mean, he can age in a treachery this turn, but I don't think that matters. He's not playing a Yorion type deck, so he's got a normal number of cards. We're just one really good mill away from winning. Interesting. Yeah. No attack. Yeah, I think we're just one really, really good mill away from winning. Next turn, depending on what happens, I think we just double Cathartic Reunion, because I'm pretty sure we'll draw at least one land off the first Cathartic Reunion once we draw 3. And I really just don't know what our opponent is doing. What do we want first? Yeah, I think we're going to scry first. So I don't think we want any of those on top. That is pretty ridiculous. So is this guy's last card a counterspell of some kind? I think now we've hit so many non-enchantments that we should not be drawing anymore. Oh man, it's ridiculous. All right, so we're gonna force through 2 damage here. We'll trade in a zombie. I'm pretty surprised that we haven't actually hit any. Tatyova, this is cool. It's been a long time since I've seen Tatyova. This is one of my favorite cards in Dominaria. She's just a cool. All right, so I think we have to Cathartic Reunion. Yeah, we're gonna Cathartic Reunion. I think we're good. Pay 2 life. Probably draw all the rest of our... Oh no. Let me make sure we have Storm Herald, which we don't. We'll play it out of our... Good game. Good game. And right at the 6-minute mark. Alright, cool. Awesome. Awesome. Hey everybody, welcome back. We are in the wrap-up, and we did 7-0 today. That is really amazing. This deck is super fun to play. It has super crazy burst damage. It can catch your opponents off guard because come at you either from your hand or from your graveyard. So I'm really happy with how this deck performed. Again, based on the 2 games that we lost to this deck last night, I'm not surprised that this deck is super powerful. I did not expect it to be able to recover, though, like it did a few times when we were actually empty-handed or had really nothing in play. So that, though, is actually super impressive. Now, what cards could we potentially change? Really, obviously, you need all the mill aspects. You need the enchantments. The enchantments are pretty key. I think those are really the only enchantments you can play. I think the only card in this deck that's potentially interchangeable is Fanatical Firebrand. And I think the only card that we could potentially put in here is Corpse Churn. Again, though, I don't necessarily know if this is the right call, though. 2 mana, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard, then you can return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So what this lets you do is this kind of just lets you recur the Stitcher Suppliers and the Mire Tritons. You're not really going to be focusing on the Storm Herald. However, it is another alternative to get back Storm Herald if they do continue to kill them, make you discard them, mill them, anything along. So it's something worth thinking about. So if you're going to try this deck and you don't necessarily want to craft an older card in the form of Fanatical Firebrand, you most likely have Corpse Churn because it is an Ikoria card. So this deck is relatively cheap to build. Obviously, mana bases are always going to be an issue. I do want to remind everybody that when you are building your collection, you should always focus on your mana base first, and then once you fill that out, then start filling out the other spots that you're missing. So mana base is always the most important thing, and that's physical Magic as well as digital Magic. So assuming that you have all of the mana base filled, this deck is relatively cheap. The only thing you do have to be wary about is that you would potentially have to buy the anthologies. I'm not sure if you can just craft the different cards from them other than what's in anthologies. So that's not awful. So, but yeah, this deck is super fun to play. Again, I was hitting people for 30, 40, 50 damage one swing, and we did that like super consistent. All right, with that being said, again, guys, remember, we're at 800 subscribers, trying to get to 1,000. Giveaway at 1,000, and be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave a comment below. Always love hearing from everybody. You guys are all awesome, and hit that bell icon. So, all right, well, you guys have a great weekend. We will see you guys.